You are listening to the Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
I have to start this exploration with a bit of a confession, actually. I recently spent about 20 minutes arguing with my smart speaker about the weather.
Ah, yes, the classic human versus machine showdown.
Literally. Because all I wanted to know was if I needed an umbrella for a specific suburb, just one suburb. And it just kept telling me the average rainfall for the entire continent.
It usually comes down to the prompt, does it not? You have to speak its language.
Well, see, that is exactly what I thought. I thought I was just being a bit thick or phrasing it wrong. But then I saw this logic puzzle from the research pile we were unpacking for this discussion. And it turns out sometimes the smartest AI in the world is also just the most unintentionally hilarious thing you have ever interacted with.
I reckon I know exactly which one you have found. Is this the car wash scenario?
That is the one. It is such a wonderfully simple prompt. A user just asks the AI, I want to wash my car. The car wash is 50 meters away. Should I walk or drive?
Okay, and just to be clear, for everyone listening, 50 meters is
What?
half a footy field. It is literally right there.
Exactly. It is basically next door. And the AI, these multi-billion-dollar brains we were building, almost unanimously came back with the exact same advice. They all said, you should walk.
You should walk.
Yes. Because logically, walking is healthy. It is eco-friendly. It completely ignores the fact that...
But the entire goal is to get the dirty car to the place where the water is.
Spot on. It leaves the car in the driveway.
It is fantastic. It really highlights that paradox we are living in right now. These systems can write a perfectly structured sonnet in the style of Shakespeare about a toaster, but they can still be incredibly painfully literal. They just completely miss the human intent.
But you know, that specific failure, that inability to understand the actual goal is actually the perfect jumping off point for us. Because the material we are looking at suggests we are right at the edge of fixing that exact problem. We are moving from these chatbots that give you literal text-based advice to agents that might actually just, grab your keys and drive the car there for you.
Yeah, that is the shift. We're calling it the agentic shift. And we are going to break it down into 3 massive buckets for you all. We have got the new brains, which are the huge model updates from Claude and Google. We have got the new hands, which is the rise of agents that can actually use computers.
And we have the body, the absolute colossus of infrastructure being built to support all of this. We are talking about spending numbers that honestly look like typos, just billions of dollars on chips, and even some wild talk of data centers in orbit.
It is a massive amount to get into, all the way from the silicon up to the stars.
So let us start with the brains, because while I was aggressively debating my smart speaker, Anthropic was actually busy dropping Claude Sonnet 4.6. Now, usually a point-something update feels like a minor patch, right? Like they fix some bugs or whatever. But this feels completely different.
It is very different. The headline here is not just that it writes better emails or codes a bit faster. The whole focus has shifted significantly toward computer use, long-term planning, and long context reasoning.
Computer use. That sounds a bit vague to me. What does that actually mean in practice for a user?
Well, think about how you use a chatbot right now. You type into a little box, it types back. You copy-paste the answer into Word or Excel or whatever. You are essentially the bridge.
Right, I'm doing the manual labor.
Exactly. Computer use means the AI acts like a user. It can look at a screen, move a cursor around, click buttons, and navigate your file system.
So instead of asking it to write a draft of a report, I could theoretically tell it, hey, open these 5 spreadsheets, summarize the sales data, and then email it to my boss.
Theoretically, yes. And to make that kind of thing possible, Anthropic has introduced a massive upgrade to its context window. That is basically the short-term memory of the AI. They have launched a 1 million token context window in beta.
Okay, we hear tokens thrown around a lot. Put that in human terms for us. Is 1 million tokens like a book, a whole library?
A standard novel is maybe 100,000 tokens. So 1 million tokens is absolutely huge. You could feed it entire code bases, massive legal case files, or the transcripts of every show we have ever recorded, and it would still have room to spare.
Wow. And why does an agent need that much memory just to do a task?
Because real work is messy. If you want an AI to navigate your file system or understand the history of a really complex project to make a plan, it cannot just forget what it read 3 minutes ago. It needs to hold the entire state of the project in its head at once. That is what this memory unlocks.
It is super impressive, but Google is not exactly sitting on its hands here either. They are hitting back with Gemini 3.1 Pro. And I saw a number in the notes that made me stop scrolling entirely. The ARC AGI 2 benchmark.
Yeah, this is the one to watch. If you ignore every other metric out there, look at ARC AGI.
Why is this one so special? Because we see things like a 99% success rate on the bar exam all the time now.
Right, but the bar exam, or a biology test, checks for knowledge. Did you memorize the textbook? Large language models are fantastic at memorizing the internet. The ARC AGI benchmark is totally different. It is designed to test novel reasoning.
So things that it has not seen before.
Exactly. Yeah. It gives the AI visual puzzles, like grids of colored squares, that it has never encountered. It has to figure out the underlying pattern on the fly.
Oh, I see. So it is the difference between winning a trivia night and taking an actual IQ test.
Perfectly put. And Gemini 3.1 Pro hit a verified 77.1% score on it.
He's got a big jump.
It is astronomical. The previous results for this class of model were less than half that. Doubling your score on a pure reasoning test is not an incremental update. It implies a fundamental shift in how the model is processing information.
Yeah.
It is moving from, I have seen this pattern before, to, I have never seen this, but I can figure it out.
Which is exactly what you need if you want an AI to drive your car to the wash without being told every single turn to make.
Spot on. Now, before we move on, we really have to mention the underdog in all this, or, well, the very heavy underdog. The open weed scene has a new contender called Qwen 3.5.
Qwen! Sounds quite friendly, but the specs sound absolutely terrifying. 397 billion parameter.
It is an absolute beast of a model.
For you listening, parameters are roughly equivalent to the number of connections in the brain, so more usually equals smarter. But 400 billion sounds incredibly heavy to run. Does that not just burn a hole straight through your electricity bill?
You would definitely think so. But this is where the architecture gets really clever. Qwen uses something called Mixture of Experts, or MOE.
I love this concept. Explain it like we're at a dinner party.
Okay, imagine you have a massive library with 397 specialist librarians. You have a physicist, a poet, a coder, a master chef, and so on. When you ask a question like, how do I bake a chocolate cake? Well, you do not need the physicist or the coder to wake up and start thinking. You only wake up the chef.
Oh, right. So you are not activating the whole massive brain for every single passing thought.
Correct. Qwen only activates about 17 billion parameters per forward pass, which is basically per thought. So you get the sheer breadth of knowledge of a massive model, but the energy cost and speed of a much smaller, highly efficient one.
It really feels like the trend across the board here is thinking before speaking. We are seeing models that pause, reason, and plan. As the industry matures, we're seeing less of the immediate text vomit and more actual calculation.
That is the key shift. We're moving from prediction engines that just guess the next word to true reasoning engines. And once you have reasoning, you can start trusting the AI to do more than just talk. You can trust it to use its hands.
Which brings us perfectly to part 2, the hands. Because if the brains are getting smarter, the hands are getting much busier. And the big news here is OpenAI making a purchase that I think signals a massive change in strategy. They have officially acquired OpenClaw.
Formerly known as Claudebot. This is a very significant move.
Oh, I remember OpenClaw. It was, let us call it the bad boy of the agent world. It was open source. It was totally unrestrained.
Yeah, it was the tool you used if you wanted to actually get things done without a safety filter nagging you every 5 seconds. It could execute code, access third-party tools, just run wild on your terminal.
And now it is going corporate.
It is. And OpenAI buying them signals that they are betting the house on autonomous agents. They do not just want you chatting with ChatGPT anymore. They realize the real money is not in the conversation. The money's in the execution. They want an agent that goes out, does the work, and comes back with the job finished.
It is a bit like when a punk band gets signed to a major label. You know the production value is going to go way up, but you worry about them losing that raw edge.
That is a great analogy. The vibe is definitely shifting from hacker tool to enterprise workflow. But it is not just OpenAI doing this. We are seeing these agents popping up everywhere. Have you seen these Manny's agents on Telegram?
I have, actually. It is so interesting because it is not a new app or a dedicated website. It is just sitting right there in your chat list, right next to your family group chat.
It is about meeting the user where they already are. You are already in Telegram talking to your mates. Why close the app to book a flight or research a stock? You just king the agent. It completely removes the friction.
Speaking of removing friction, the integration game is really heating up for creative work, too. I saw this demo with Figma that absolutely blew my mind. You can go from Claude Code straight into Figma layers now.
This is huge for designers. Usually, if an AI generates a design for you, it is just a flat image, a JPEG. You cannot edit the text or move a button. But this integration renders fully editable designs, layers, vectors, the works. It is completely blurring the line between the code and the canvas.
And Microsoft is doing similar stuff with Copilot, right? Testing researcher and analyst agents.
Yes, and this is exactly where the reasoning we talked about earlier pays off. You can tell your Copilot agent, go away, research this market trend for 3 hours, analyze the data, and come back to me with a full report.
See, that is the absolute dream. And there's always but when we talk about agents running wild on our computers, this brings us to the oh no moment, the underlying risk.
Yeah. With great power comes great security holes.
It is not just about the AI saying something mean or hallucinating a fact anymore. If an agent has access to your file system or your digital wallet or your email.
Exactly. We really need to talk about agent sandboxing.
Sandboxing, is that like a digital playpen?
Pretty much. Cursor, the coding editor, is doing some fascinating work here. They're building systems where the AI runs in a strict, isolated box. If it wants to leave that box, say to access the internet to download a software library, it has to explicitly ask permission. Mother, may I go outside?
So it's not just roaming free through your hard drive looking at your photos.
It cannot be.
Right.
Because the threat vector is changing. We used to worry about prompt injection, tricking the chatbot into saying something it should not. That is becoming old school. Now we have to worry about malicious skills in agent marketplaces.
Malicious skills, like a virus.
Imagine you download a calendar management skill for your agent. It works perfectly. It organizes your week, sets your meetings. But buried deep in that skill's logic is a hidden instruction. Every time you check the calendar, also copy the contacts list and send it to this random server overseas.
That is terrifyingly plausible. It is the exact same problem we have with app stores, but faster and much more automated.
And because the agent is already trusted by your operating system, your firewall might not even blink.
Wow. Okay, so we have super smart brains that can reason through novel puzzles. We have eager hands that might accidentally steal our wallets if we are not careful. Now let us look at the body, the physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because none of this computation is free.
It is definitely not free. We're seeing a spending spree right now that makes the Apollo program look like a budget family holiday.
Meta, Facebook, is dropping some incredibly serious cash.
Serious cash is an understatement. Meta is planning to spend up to $135 billion on AI.
$135 billion. That is literally more than the GDP of most countries. What are they actually buying with all that?
NVIDIA chips. Mostly H100s and the new Blackwell architectures. They are stockpiling compute like it is gold bullion. But here's the interesting twist. It is not just the processors getting all the money. I was reading about Micron in our notes.
The memory guys.
Yeah, everyone talks about the GPU, the brain.
Okay.
But you need memory. You need fast, short-term memory to hold those 1 million tokens we talked about earlier. Micron is spending $50 billion just to double their campus size because memory is becoming the new bottleneck.
It makes total sense. You can have the fastest brain in the world, but if it has the memory of a goldfish, it is completely useless for complex tasks.
Precisely. It is like trying to drink from a fire hose through a coffee stirrer. You needed a much bigger pipe.
Let us talk about the economics of this, though, because there is a bit of a debate happening about inference economics. Essentially, how much does it cost for these models to think?
This is the big question for the industry. Right now, these reasoning models, the ones that pause and think, are very expensive to run. They take time and they take a lot of energy.
So how do we make it cheaper? Or is highly capable AI just going to stay a luxury good?
There are two main approaches. OpenAI is trying to solve this with raw hardware. They're using Cerebrus chips to get insanely fast speeds, pushing like 1,000 tokens per second. But they're using a slightly less capable model to do it. It is speed over raw smarts.
Right, and Anthropic.
They're taking the software route. They're using clever optimization techniques like really low batch sizes to get speed out of standard hardware. But the real hope, and there is some solid data to support this, is that costs will simply collapse over time. Think about the first time you ever do a Sudoku puzzle. It takes you an hour of painful logic. The 100th time, 5 minutes. The theory is that once we unlock a capability in AI, once we figure out the mathematical logic, the cost to run that capability falls incredibly fast. We might be in the heavy brick mobile phone era of AI cost right now, and we are about to move to the cheap smartphone era.
That is the hope anyway. Otherwise, my monthly subscription fees are going to go completely through the roof.
Indeed, they will.
All right, let us zoom out for part 4. Way out. The philosophy. Because when you have this much money and power flying around, people start getting very visionary. And nobody gets more visionary or more out there than Elon Musk.
Musk is looking at this bottleneck of power and cooling on Earth and basically saying, why are we constrained by this planet? He is talking about putting data centers in space.
Space data centers. My immediate reaction to that is just, that is crazy. But then I actually thought about it. Servers hate heat. Space is very, very cold.
And servers need constant power. Up there, you have unfiltered solar energy 24/7. There are no clouds. There is no nighttime.
So the physics of it actually works.
The physics works. The logistics are an absolute nightmare, of course, getting the heavy servers up there, fixing them if they break. But there's another angle Musk is playing here. Sovereignty.
Ah, right. No single country owns space.
Exactly. No regulations, no local zoning laws, no power grid restrictions. But his main driver here is geopolitical competition. He firmly believes that if we, meaning the West, do not build these massive systems at any cost, China will win.
He pointed out the productivity gap, did he not?
He did. He argues that China is currently far more productive in manufacturing. His proposed solution is what he calls the infinity money glitch.
I love that phrase so much. It sounds like a cheat code you would use in a video game. Up, up, down, down, left, right, infinite cash.
That is essentially how he views it, though. The theory goes, if you have autonomous robots that can build other robots, and AI that can design even better AI, you eventually detach economic output from human labor entirely. The economy just goes up to infinity.
It sounds great on paper until you realize that detaching labor from the economy means we as humans do not have jobs.
That is certainly the flip side of the coin. But Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, has a slightly different take. He is a bit less focused on the space robots and much more focused on the pure intelligence aspect.
He is the one predicting geniuses in a data center, right?
Yes. He believes within just a few years, we will have entities smarter than any human available on tap. Imagine being able to hire 10,000 Einsteins for an hour to solve material science or climate problem. That is his vision.
But let us bring it back to Earth for a second. Is any of this actually happening, or is it all just tech hype and space robots? Because for a long time, we heard all these promises about AI, but the actual productivity numbers were totally flat.
That has been the major critique. The productivity paradox. But look at the recent numbers. U.S. productivity increased roughly 2.7% recently.
Is that a lot in economic terms?
It is nearly double the sluggish average of the last decade. It highly suggests the tools are finally starting to work at scale. Companies are actually getting more efficient. The glitch might be starting to kick in.
But not everyone in the field agrees on the timeline, do they? We really have these two distinct camps forming.
Right. You have Camp A. The AGI is imminent crowd. Musk, Amodei, Sam Altman. They reckon we are on an exponential curve that just shoots straight up. Next stop. Godlike superintelligence.
Can't be.
The Transformers have limits crowd. These are the researchers who say, hold on a minute. They argue that the current underlying technology, the transformer model, might be hitting a physical and mathematical wall. We have picked all the low-hanging fruit of internet data.
It is the difference between climbing a steep hill and suddenly realizing the next peak is actually Mount Everest and you are only wearing flip-flops.
Precisely. We simply do not know if the next massive leap requires just more money and more data, or if it requires a completely new invention that we've not even conceptualized yet.
So just to recap our exploration today, we have these new brains that can reason through puzzles they have never even seen before. We have hands that are leaving the chat window and actually doing complex work for us, hopefully without stealing our identity. We have a body of infrastructure that is costing hundreds of billions of dollars. And we have a philosophy that says we might literally be on the verge of an infinity money glitch.
It is a heck of a time to be watching this space unfold.
It really is. And I keep thinking back to that car wash logic puzzle we started with.
The 50-meter walk.
Yeah. If the infinity money glitch actually works, if the robots are making all the money and the software agents are doing all the mundane work, do we still need to walk to the car wash?
Well, for your cardiovascular health, probably yes, you definitely should walk. But logically, I think the AI might finally be right. If you have infinite money, just pay someone else to drive it.
Or better yet, let the car drive itself while I take a nap. I am definitely not walking.
I strongly suspect you are not.
But it does leave you wondering, if we really do hit that point where all the struggle and mandatory labor is removed, What exactly are we going to do with ourselves? If we do not have to drive the car or earn the wage to pay for the rush, where do we find our actual purpose? Something for you to chew on.
A very big question to leave them with.
Look, that is all we have time for on the Vocal Technologist. We covered a massive amount of ground, from the silicon all the way up to the stars. Hopefully it helps you make a bit more sense of what is happening out there.
And remember, whether it is imminent or still decades away, this shift is happening right now. It is definitely worth paying attention.
Absolutely. Get you the next one.
See ya.
Spoken Tech for your ears.